This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
So call if you need it, or maybe not need it, but you know what I mean it. Feels just like dreaming, or maybe not dreaming, but you know just what I mean, don't you?
Program is rated MA-LSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Finally, show with the balls to call it like it is. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Countdown to audio torture.
The Rated R Safety Show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Let the eardrum pain begin.
Forget the corporate bullshit. This is the Rated R Safety Show with your host, Dr. It doesn't matter who the host is.
Oh, yes. It does not matter who the host is. What has always mattered is who the listeners are. Anyways, today is Tuesday, March the 10th of 2026. And we are broadcasting from the Safety FM studios in Orlando, Florida, and coming across the multiverse known as Safety FM, and then hanging out with our friends and colleagues over there.
Radio Big. USA, Canada, UK.
Oh, yes, that's what we do. We hang out, we do our stuff, and talk a little bit about everything that is going on inside of the world of the multiverse. Anyways, how has the last 24 hours or so been for you? Hopefully they've been quite fantastic, because it's been a fantastic time here in the U.S. with everything going on, of course. Yeah, as we are talking. So let's talk real quick. Our show consists of safety in the news, news and safety. That's just really what our show consists of. That's what we do here. So with that being said, I want to kind of address a couple of things here, just to make sure that we're all on the same page. Our show is a radio show that goes into a podcast network that also does some kind of a video stream. So with that being said, here's what ends up happening. We do our radio show first, drop it into a podcast, and then go into the video stream. Now, this is occurring in real time. You can't see me type of thing. So this is what's happening. I'm talking, but that's how we kind of handle the thing. This is the first hour of a 3-hour show. Only the first hour is on video and on a podcast. Everything else either is on Safety FM or RadioBig.fm is the way that it goes. So just wanted to share how the whole angle works. So we talk about safety, we talk about the news. And if you hadn't been here before, you've heard me say this about 100 times, maybe 1,000 times, maybe 1,311 times, but let's not get too crazy here. If you want to interact with the show, you go to callinradio.com. Once you get there, it's going to give you 3 options: audio, video, and text messaging. Audio, video, and text messaging are the 3 options of the things that you can do. You take that choice, and then you kind of go down the path. That's it. That's the simple process of what we're doing. So that's it. I bring in some professional broadcasters that will talk about the things that are going on inside of the world of the multiverse, and that is it. Lingo in the bingo. And then we kind of go from there. So I have my friends currently waiting there from Feature Story News, wanting to tell you what the hell's going on with the news stories. So if you're good with this, I'm good with this, and we can start getting into the news right now. So let's go ahead and do that immediately.
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
From Feature Story News in New Delhi, I'm Ishan Garg. Hong Kong stocks rose and oil prices fell in Asia on Tuesday following US President Donald Trump signaling that the Iran war could be drawing to a close. Japan's Nikkei 225 and South Korea's Kospi both jumped as well, but investors remain jittery about what will happen next.
Asian stocks rebounded from Monday's sell-off and crude oil fell after US President Donald Trump said the war with Iran would end very soon. But the president said that he did not believe the conflict would be over this week. Some investors are seeing Donald Trump's comments as evidence that the US administration has backed out of a lengthy conflict for fear of further disrupting markets. But the situation remains tense, with Iran's military warning that it would step up its missile strikes in a further sign of defiance, and the vital waterway, the Strait of Hormuz, remains effectively closed, which has led to major oil producers curtailing output. Laura Westbrook, Hong Kong.
The UAE has condemned an attack that targeted its consulate general in Iraq's Kurdistan region, calling it an unprovoked terrorist attack. The Gulf nation has been one of the worst impacted by Iran strikes, as correspondent Fiona Nicole Mee tells us.
Since the start of these attacks on the United Arab Emirates, we've seen 253 ballistic missiles detected, 233 were destroyed, 18 falling into the sea off the coast of the UAE, and 2 landing within the territory. And we've also detected over 1,400 drones that have been intercepted, 1,300 of those intercepted, 81 falling within the country's territory. And we've also detected 8 cruise missiles since the start of this war.
US President Donald Trump says he is not happy with Iran's new pick for Supreme Leader, but in an interview with the New York Post, he refused to say what he would do about it. Mojtaba Khamenei was chosen by a group of clerics to replace his late father, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who was killed on the first day of the war. Nick Harper reports from Washington.
Bear in mind that Mojtaba Khamenei is someone that was sanctioned back in 2019 by the US Treasury Department due to his activities in the Iranian regime. The US has, throughout this whole process, made it clear that if the person that Iran chooses to run the country is not someone that's been specifically signed off on by the US president, that person would have a target on their back in the same way that the former Ayatollah had as well. The fact that we have now someone in charge of Iran that the United States feels it cannot work with, there seems, I think, little hope for diplomacy, and therefore the fear is that what we've seen in the last 10 days will only grow and potentially widen.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks. Looking in more detail today at claims that US troops in the Middle East are being ordered to view the battle against Iran as part of God's divine plan. A non-governmental organisation called the Military Religious Freedom Foundation says it's collected more than 200 complaints by American service personnel who say the country's constitutional separation between church and state is being ignored by some commanding officers. Mikey Weinstein runs the foundation from offices in New Mexico.
We've gotten now well over 200 calls from 50 different military installations that certain commanders were thrilled with the news about the attack because they were indicating that everybody should be gleeful and euphoric because this was all written in the book of Revelation. The service members are scared, but they know that we will protect their anonymity. It's all part of the end times leading towards the Battle of Armageddon, which will all serve as an accelerant or lubricant to bring their version of kind of a weaponized Jesus back and destroy the current world, and we'll be able to move forward with his 1,000-year reign. You know, we don't care about anybody's particular religious views. Most of our staff and most of our clients happen to be Christians, and most of the people complaining to us about this are Christians. But that is not legal, ethical, or moral for as a justification for invading Iran.
And more than 30 Democrats in Congress are now calling on the Pentagon's Inspector General to launch a probe. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
FSN is an independent source of news for TV, radio and digital networks worldwide. You can find more of our minute-by-minute updates on Twitter. Follow us there at Feature Story. And we have a wealth of audio and video stories from our global news bureaus on Facebook. You can find us there by following Feature Story News. Stay tuned for further updates right here, but for now, That is the latest feature story news. Ishan Garg reporting.
You are listening to something magical. You're listening to the Rated R Safety Show.
Let's start using cutting-edge warp-speed 5G technology with your cell phone. Let me tell you about my friends at mobilemobile.io. They have an ultra-fast 4G LTE and 5G network that covers 99% of Americans. So they've got you covered everywhere. Think about it for a moment. You have the opportunity to take a test drive for 10 days with unlimited talk, text, and premium data. What is premium data? Premium data is an allotment of a cellular data that you receive from a higher priority on the network. You won't get throttled like you will with some of those, non-brand service providers. To find out more information, all you have to do is go to mobilemobile.io. That's mobilemobile.io to start your 10-day free trial.
Hello. You've seen the loop. You've felt the shift. The script doesn't fit anymore, and neither do you. Safety transmission. The collapse of the construct is the third and final signal in the trilogy from J. Allen, Ph.D. And this time, it's not about waking up. It's about what you do once you're awake. The system didn't break. It just stopped pretending to hold you. And now it's blinking, rebranding presence, packaging resistance, and calling it progress. This book isn't a guide. It's a transmission. It doesn't teach the system how to evolve. It shows you how to stop performing for it. You'll see what happens when awareness becomes responsibility, when audits don't listen, and when leadership becomes a loop. But if you've made it this far, you're not here to be managed. You're here to carry signal. Safety Transmission, The Collapse of the Construct. Now available in print, Kindle, and audiobook. Narrated by J. Allen, Ph.D. Because if it couldn't hold your signal, it was never real to begin with.
You ever hit the wall, burnout, stressed, or just feeling that everything is piling up and thought, yeah, I probably need to talk to someone? The problem is finding the therapist who actually takes your insurance feels impossible at times. That's where Rula comes in. Rula is a healthcare company that makes mental health care easy to access and actually affordable. They partner with over 100 insurance plans, so the average copay is about $15 a session, sometimes even less. With Rula, you get matched with the right therapist for you, not just whoever's available. Their network has over 15,000 licensed professionals, and you can book an appointment as soon as tomorrow. No wait list, no frustrations, just therapy that works with your schedule and your insurance. Thousands of people are already using Rula to get affordable, high-quality therapy that actually covered by insurance. Visit Rula.com/safetyfm to get started. After you sign up, you'll be asked how you heard about them. Please support our show and let them know that we sent you there. That's RULA.com/safetyfm. You deserve mental health care that works with you, not against your budget. Go to Rula.com/safetyfm right now to get started. That's RULA.com/safetyfm because you deserve mental health care that works with you, not against your budget.
Hey, Monday is out of the way, and you know what that means.
What does that mean?
We're halfway to Wednesday optimism.
Safety in a way never heard of before. The Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Okay, here we go. 14 minutes past the top of the hour as you and I are hanging out on this lovely Tuesday. So let's start talking right away about some things that are going on inside of the world. I guess I should talk about this because it is March the 10th. Today is National Mario Day. Let me explain. This day is recognized as the iconic character from the popular video game, the character known as Mario. He first appeared in 1981 in a game called Donkey Kong made by Nintendo. Dedicated fans knew Mario before his time as a plumber. At this creation, Donkey Kong portrays Mario as a carpenter named Jumpman. Then in 1983, Nintendo launched a new game which the bad guy Jumpman reinvents himself into an Italian plumber who rescues a princess. And if you look at it, March, and if you look at the short version, it is MAR. And so then it being the 10th, 10 makes it look like Mario. So that is the reason why it's considered Mario Day. Yep, there you go. In case you were not aware of the things that are going on. I always find it funny and interesting when it's all said and done. So there you go. Some interesting stuff always happening inside of the world of the multiverse. No doubt about that. Okay, so take a listen to this one. Let's start getting down the path as we are talking and moving into the whole sector of things that are going on real quick. An Ohio woman ran a massive return scam at Home Depot and finally caught up with her. Police say that Stacey A. James from Pebbles pulled off more than 1,700 fraudulent returns at the store in Ohio and Kentucky, racking up $266,699 in bogus store credits. Over several years, investigators say that she used fake driver's license and multiple aliases to return merchandise that she never actually bought. Once she got caught or got the store credits, James would buy real items from Home Depot, resell them online for cash, essentially turning fake returns into real money. The scam hit multiple locations, including stores in Brunswick, Medina, Miamisburg, Milford, and Wadsworth. Before investigating, the Medina Township Police Department put the pieces together. James eventually pleaded guilty to telecommunications fraud. A judge sentenced her to 180 days in jail, 5 years of community service, 100 hours of community service, community supervision, then 100 hours of community service, and must pay back the $266,699 to Home Depot. So after years of gaming the return desk, the receipt finally printed out, and it says pay it all back. So with that being said, let's talk real quick. Let's go through the whole plethora of things. Here is the gig. Why would you do something like that for such a long period of time if you eventually thought that you were not going to get caught? It's kind of a weird one when it's all said and done. Because at the end of the day, when you start taking a look at it, what you're starting to garner is, okay, you essentially thought that you were going to game this system for so long that nothing was ever going to happen, which is kind of a weird thing when it's all, looking at the sequence of things. So there you go. Some weird stuff always happening inside of that system, where people always assume that they're never getting caught for anything that they do. It's kind of just an interesting one. So take a listen to this one. A New Jersey woman is suing Major League Baseball in the city of Williamsport, Pennsylvania, and the Williamsport Crosscutters after a foul ball allegedly smashed into her face during a game in Bowman Field in May of 2025. The 57-year-old fan, Deborah Barbell, says that the ball ricocheted off of the railing and struck her in the head during a collegiate summer league game, according to the lawsuit. The impact caused a concussion, a broken nose, and an orbital floor fracture that led to vision problems requiring surgery. She claims that she's still undergoing treatment and has permanent scarring. Her face, ongoing eye issues, and reduced earning capacity. Her lawsuit seeks more than $500,000 in damages and argues that the stadium and MLB failed to properly protect the spectators. Attorneys say the MLB had required teams to install extended protective netting from the foul pole to fall pole by the 2025 season, but claimed that the netting at Bowman Field was in place when the incident happened. The lawsuit alleges that the league delayed implementing the safety measure, even though it had been disclosed for years. She went for the catch and the game caught her. So here's my question, because it becomes an interesting one. So yeah, I would imagine to some extent, yes, the Major League Baseball is let's say liable for helping out with this. But when you start taking a look here, because that's going to be the other aspect, what exactly are they accountable for? And why in the hell? I mean, this would be the other question. Would you release something that says, yeah, we told the ballpark years and years ago that they needed to make sure that they installed something along those lines to protect something?
We at Safety FM are not responsible for what this idiot behind the microphone is saying. He is trying to be entertaining. Rated R Safety Show.
I mean, I'm just saying, and I'm not trying to be mean. I am just saying that's kind of a weird one when it's all said and done. Okay, so take a listen to this one. 2 teenage girls in Southland region of New Zealand accidentally donated a little something more horrible than old sweaters. Police say that the two left a knapsack outside of a charity shop donation area while their car was being worked on nearby. A volunteer noticed the strong smell coming out of the bag, opened it up, and found about 43 grams of marijuana, roughly about $2,200 in cash. That's when things got interesting. The teen suddenly rushed back to the shop and panicked and desperate to get the bag back. Instead, staff had already called the New Zealand police. Recreational marijuana and selling it are illegal in New Zealand, although limited medical use is allowed with prescription. Safe to say the donation was not tax deductible. Yep, some things to give some consideration to. No doubt about that as we are hanging out. So what do you think there? Oops, what a mistake. Do you think they were high at the time that this was actually going down? I'm just saying. So just some things to think about. Okay, so take a listen to this one. A Spanish restaurant chain built on a mob theme name is being told to rebrand. La Mafia se sienta a la mesa, which translates to the mafia sits at the table, has been ordered to change their name after authorities ruled a glamorized organized crime. The issue started when Italy filed a complaint with the European Union Intellectual Property Office in 2018. The office ruled that the name invalid because it portrays mafia global positive image. More recently, the Spanish Patent and Trademark Office backed that decision and ordered the company to either appeal or pick a new name. The restaurant argued that the name came from recipe book and said that the word mafia has become pop culture term used for thousands of businesses, bands, and brands. Officials didn't buy it, though, saying that the name directly references criminal organizations tied to crime like drug trafficking, corruption, and murder. The company called the ruling unprecedented in Spain and says it's considering an appeal. That's when you really have a buy-in on your name of things that are going on. That is what it definitely sounds like to me. What do you think? Definitely some different approaches there as we are talking. So there you go. Okay, so what else do we got? I guess we should probably get into something a little bit more serious at the moment, because that's just kind of what we do for the thing. So take a listen to this. Stephen A. Smith is officially backing off all talks about running for president in 2028. And the reason is pretty simple: money. After months of teasing the idea of a White House run, Smith admitted on his podcast with Sean Hannity that he is not doing it because it would mean walking away from a massive paycheck that he's earning from ESPN. Smith bluntly said that running meant that giving up his income is in a non-starter. And we are not talking about lunch money. Smith signed a 5-year, $100 million deal with the ESPN last year, and to continue leading the First Take while also doing radio, TV appearances, and other projects. Compared to that, the presidential salary is normally $400,000 a year. Looks like spare change. Smith had been floating the political idea since President Trump returned to the White House in 2025, even telling Bill Maher on Real Time with Bill Maher that he hadn't ruled out a run because he was frustrated with the political left. He described himself as a physical conservative but socially liberal, and that he'd likely running as a Democrat, but not now that he's making it clear the presidential chatter alone, or chatter is done, is what it sounds like.
More sarcasm than a Mortal Kombat beatdown. Rated R Safety Show.
I mean, just come on, $400,000 when you start thinking about making $20 million a year over 5, if you do $20 million a year for 5 years a piece, blah, 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 $100 million, $400,000, it's not going to be the same. This is not going to be the same. You're kind of leaving 98 out there. So there you go. Okay, so take a listen to this. Live Nation have found a way to avoid being broken up by antitrust fight with the U.S. government. The company has reportedly reached a tentative settlement with the U.S. Department of Justice, and it claims to use its control to the live music business to create monopoly through ticketing arm Ticketmaster. The lawsuit was filed back in 2024, accusing the companies of dominating the ticket market, forcing artists to use Live Nation promotion to play its venues, and locking venues into long-term exclusive ticketing contracts. The government also pointed to ticketing chaos during Taylor Swift's massive The Eras tour. An example was how the system failed fans. Under the proposed deal, Live Nation wouldn't have to split up Ticketmaster, but it would have to make some major changes. The company would limit long-term exclusive ticketing contracts, allow some tickets at its venues to be sold by rival companies, and open parts of the Ticketmaster platform so competitors like Eventbrite and SeatGeek could list tickets there. Live Nation would also be required to sell some more than a dozen of the amphitheaters that it owns. Cap service fees would be 15%. That's still fucking high. At the remaining ones, and pay about $250 million in damages to states involving in the case. So what do you think? No, like seriously, what do you think there? I think that's still kind of crazy. I mean, if we're just giving opinions here, that's kind of crazy when it's all said and done. Think about it for a moment. 15% cap on tickets in regards to what you're charging, and then you're only paying $250 million. And I say only paying because of the size of that company. I know. Kind of gets kind of weird when you start thinking about it. I know.
Who truly cares what this guy has to say? Who gives a shit? Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, so where do we want to go? Okay, let's go with this one. Katie Hobbs has vetoed the bill that would have honored slain Charlie Kirk with a commemorative license plate in Arizona. The proposal passed by the Republican-controlled state legislature would have created a specialty plate featuring Kirk's image and the Turning Point logo. Of the $25 fee, $17 would have gone to the special funding support a conservative voter registration effort on high school and college campuses. Kirk, who lived in Arizona and built TPUSA, Turning Point USA, just in case, into a major conservative youth movement after starting in his parents' garage near Chicago, and it was shot and killed during a speaking event in Utah Valley University in September. A 22-year-old suspect, Tyler Robinson, has been charged with the murder. Hobbs called Kirk's killing a tragic and horrifying, but creating the plate would inject partisan politics into something she believes would remain nonpartisan. She argued that the government programs like specialty plates shouldn't become political statements. Supporter of the bill were furious. State Senator Jack Hoffman, who sponsored the legislation and was close ally to Kirk, blasted Hobbs on social media, accusing her of partisan bias. TPUSA leadership also criticized the veto and urged voters to remember it during elections. Okay. I mean, let's talk about some specialty plates. Have you been to Florida? Like, seriously, have you been to Florida? And if you have, I'm going to point out that when you drive around, there are probably more specialty plates in this state than anywhere else that I've been. Like, if you can envision it, there's a specialty plate. So, non-political, I don't know. It becomes very weird. I mean, I think I got something email-wise about a week or two ago, maybe a little bit longer, that Universal's about to get a specialty plate. And I'm talking about Universal Studios. And I'm not saying that, they're political. Disney has a specialty plate. I mean, I think that there's one that's like a Endless Summer specialty plate, a Dolphin specialty plate, a Miami Heat specialty plate. And I'm not picking on these things, but man, if you can envision it, there's a specialty plate. So are other states now saying, hey, maybe specialty plates are not as good as one would think? I don't know. Does Charlie Kirk need a specialty plate? I don't know. It's just a lot of weird stuff. Because, I mean, if we can just get specialty plates out of specialty plates, I think that's kind of cool if you can create your own. But, I mean, of course, they have to be probably pretty PG. So there you go. Anyways, let's change the subject real quick because I think that's going to be important.
We at Safety FM are not responsible for what this idiot behind the microphone is saying. He is trying to be entertaining. Rated R Safety Show.
President Trump says the U.S. may soon turn attention to Cuba, suggesting possible friendly takeover led by Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Speaking to reporters, Trump said that Rubio would be the right person to help shift Cuba away from its communist government because Cuban citizens trust him and he speaks Spanish. Trump added that the transition would be friendly or not so friendly, but argued that Cuba's government is already on the brink, saying that the country has little energy, little money, and is facing serious humanitarian crisis. Trump also pointed to that Cuban Americans gave him record support politically, saying that the issue matters to him because of that community. He added that Cuba's leadership could choose to make a deal with the U.S., but warned the U.S. could move forward regardless. Are these good things to be saying to people? I never understand that. Like, are we just going around and like picking fights? Sounds that way to some extent. So I don't know. What do you think about it? Just asking. Okay, take a listen to this one. Let's talk about this one. A man involved in a shooting during the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl victory parade. Shooting has been sentenced to prison. Dominic Miller originally faced a murder charge after a gunfire broke out during a 2024 celebration for Kansas City Chiefs, killing a local radio DJ, Lisa Lopez Galvan. In the injury is injuring 22 others. Prosecutors said that multiple people began shooting after the argument in the crowd. Miller eventually pleaded guilty to weapons charge as part of the plea deal and was sentenced on Monday to 2 years in prison. The murder was dropped because Missouri self-defense laws made it difficult for prosecutors to prove beyond a reasonable doubt who started the violence and whether someone was acting in self-defense. Another suspect, Liddell May, still faces serious charges, including second-degree murder, and is scheduled for trial next year. Next year? Aren't we just in March? Authorities said, or have said, that several people were involved in the gunfire, and they intend to hold every shooter accountable for chaos that turned the celebration into a deadly scene. So let's talk about that. So, potential self-defense, guns-related charge, local DJ dies, and 22 others injured. I'm not saying the person only did that, so let's just make sure that we're clear here.
Duh.
But 2 years? 2 years. I don't know. Kind of sounds a little iffy to me if you start thinking about it. Anyways, 32 minutes past the top of the hour. Main story.
Here is our main story on the Rated R Safety Show.
Okay. Let's go to it, because I know some people are going to be like, what are you doing today? Because you're talking about everything, and it's not even Free Forward Friday. And that's okay, because that's kind of what we do. So I want you to think about the front gate of your facility for a moment. Maybe the turnstile, maybe the badge scanner, the heavy glass door at the lobby. Corporate America has spent decades selling us on fantasy about the threshold. You know, they treat that front door of the plant like it's a magical, physiological airlock. The prevailing corporate theory, written into every employee handbook and preached by every compliance jockey in a corner office, is the moment that you swipe your RFID badge, your personal life gets stuck out there in the vacuum of space. And you're supposed to leave your badge in the parking lot, and you're supposed to zip up your high-vis vest and put on your hard hat and instantly transform into a hyper-focused, emotional, sterile production unit. Mind on task, right? And that's the glossy poster in the hallways. Mind on task. And let's call that exactly what it is. It's complete, unadulterated corporate bullshit. Human beings do not have a switch on the back of their necks. You cannot sever the human from the hazard, but the system forces you to play this dangerous game and pretend. So let's talk about the guy on the floor. Let's call him today, let's just call him Javier. Javier is a heavy equipment operator. He drives a top handler in a busy shipping yard, moving 40-ton steel containers that require millimeter precisions and absolute undivided attention. But Javier hasn't slept more than 3 consecutive hours in a week. Why? Because his 8-year-old daughter is in the hospital. The medical bills are stacking up on his kitchen table like a mountain of pure panic. And the collection agencies are calling his cell phone while he sits in his locker, or phone sits in his locker. And he is terrified. He's exhausted. And he's drowning. Javier walks in at 6 a.m. for his pre-shift huddle. The safety manager stands up front, reading from the clipboard and passes around the daily fit for duty log, because we have to have one of those. It asks a simple question. Are you physically and mentally prepared to safely execute your job today? What is Javier supposed to do? If he checks no, he gets sent home. If he gets sent home, he burns through his sick time. If he runs out his sick time, his paycheck shrinks. If his paycheck shrinks, he defaults on his health insurance premiums that he literally is keeping for keeping his daughter alive. The system has put a gun to his head. So Javier picks up the pen, swallows his panic, and signs his name. He lies. He validates the airlock myth because the environment gives him absolutely no other choice. For hours, Javier is in a cab of the top handler, and he's moving a container. But for exactly 4 seconds, 1, 2, 3, 4, he isn't in the cab. For 4 seconds, his mind flashes to look at his daughter's face when he left the ICU. For 4 seconds, he emotionally blasts radius of his personal life breaches the airlock. He misjudges the swing. The 40-ton container slams into the stack. Metal shrieks. The load drops, and it's a massive near miss that completely halts the yard. And how does the corporate ecosystem react? The investigation swoops in, however you want to say it. They don't look at Javier as a human being anymore. They look at Javier as a liability. They drag him into the sterile conference room. They immediately send him out for a drug test because we have to do that. And then the HR rep slides in that morning his fit for duty log across the table and taps the paper and says, Javier, you signed this document stating that you were focused. You violated the policy. The blame the worker. That's what we have to do. They point at their 1-800 number for employee assistance program, a faded flyer that tacked to a clipboard behind the vending machine, and they wash their hands of the entire mess. This is the sickness of compartmentalization. When you compartmentalize in regards of everything that is going on right there. We expect our people to absorb massive personal trauma and then operate heavy machinery with precision of a switch watch. We treat the bleed between life and work as disciplinary issues instead of a fundamental reality of the human condition. And now let's not pretend that this is a one-way street. Let's talk about how the workplace bleeds back into the living room because the airlock is broken both directions. When corporate cuts staffing half but demands the exact same production numbers, they aren't just creating a hazard at the floor, they're creating a hazard at the dinner table. When workers are forced into their third consecutive weekend of mandatory overtime and the company isn't just stealing their rest, the company is actively participating in the slow grinding destruction of that worker's marriage. You cannot subject a human being to 12 hours of toxic leadership and physical exhaustion in constant ambient threat and then expect them to walk through their front door at night and be patient and loving parent. The stress doesn't magically evaporate in the driveway. It mutates. It turns into a short temper with kids. It turns into silent staring match to the television. It turns a 6-pack of beer just into the dumb ringing of someone's ears. Now, here's the thing. The job comes home. The home goes to the job. It's just the reality of how things work. We have completely shattered the illusion that personal life and work life are separate entities, and they are the exact same life. It is the exact same nervous system absorbing the blows. If you are a leader, if you are a manager, and if you are running a shift, stop handing out fit for duty forms and start looking at your people's eyes. You need to build a culture where a guy like Javier can walk into the foreman's office, shut the door, and say, my kid is sick. My head is completely trashed, and I am a danger to myself and everyone else out there today. And then he says, you don't write them up. You don't dock his pay. You look at him and say, thank you for the truth. Keep your radio on and take the clipboard and go do a perimeter inventory today. Stay out of the line of fire. Think about that for a moment.
Duh.
True safety isn't about enforcing rules. It's about intercepting reality. It's about recognizing that people turning the wrenches are flesh and blood and have emotions as well. The airlock is a myth. The door is always open. The storm outside is always blowing in. And until we start treating our workers as whole human beings instead of easily replaceable parts, we are just sweeping the wreckage. Think about that. Think about that for just a moment.
Oops. What did he just say?
We at Safety FM don't always agree with the viewpoints of our hosts and guests.
Now back to real safety talk on Safety FM.
Don't go anywhere.
You're listening to the home of real safety talk.
You're listening to Safety FM. We'll be right back.
This portion of the show has been sponsored by Private Internet Access, America's #1 virtual private network, or VPN. Even if you use incognito mode, internet service providers is storing your browser data and many times even selling it. But Private Internet Access, or PIA, can help you. PIA encrypts and reroutes your internet traffic through one of its own servers, hiding your data from your internet service provider or network admin. And with servers in over 75 countries, you can get unrestricted access to geo-blocked content from around the world. PIA comes with easy-to-use apps and browsers extension for all devices, a rock-solid privacy policy, open source security, advanced customization settings, and it was just ranked the fastest VPN in the world by PC Magazine. And if you sign up right now with PIA, you can take advantage of a special deal only for Safety FM listeners. Only by using the following link, you can get the digital privacy for less than $2 a month. Yes, you did hear me correctly. Less than $2 a month and an extra 4 months for free. So that means for only $1.98 a month and 83% off, you can get this service for you right now. That's so much more inexpensive than virtually every other VPN on the market. And if you get it right now, you can take PIA's 30-day risk-free challenge. You can try it out for 30 days, see if you like it, and if not, just return it for a full refund. So just go to safetyfm.com/VPN. That's safetyfm.com/VPN to try out the best VPN on the planet completely risk-free. Now remember, safetyfm.com/VPN.
Is your safety training old, stale, and hacked? Is your safety trainer still preaching a warped version of behavior-based safety? How about safety training that actually addresses your hazards in your workplaces and is not standardized baloney from 25 years ago? Contact the Safety Wars team at safetywars.com or call Jim Posel at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you're receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces.
Hey there, Jay Allen here with Safety FM, where we just don't talk about safety, we live it. And when it comes to safeguarding your future, there's no better partner than Acorns. This part of the show has been brought to you by Acorns and a powerful tool that makes saving and investing easier than ever. We all know that investing can feel overwhelming, especially with busy lives and no time to dive into the nitty-gritty of financial markets, but Acorns changes the game. With Acorns, you don't need to be a financial expert or have a hefty sum of money to get started. In fact, Acorns lets you begin with just spare change. It's all about those small steps, small investments today that can build into something much bigger over time. Acorns recommends that the expert build portfolio designed to fit financial goals. Then it does the heavy lifting for you by automatically investing your money. It's like having a financial advisor in your pocket working around the clock to help your money grow. So why wait? Head over to acorns.com/safetyfm or download the Acorns app and take that first step towards securing your future today. Remember, in the world of safety and investing, small actions today can lead to mighty outcomes tomorrow. Paid non-client endorsement. Compensation provides an incentive to positively promote Acorns. Investing involves risk. Acorns Advisors, LLC, and SEC registered investment advisors. View important disclosures at acorn.com/safetyfm. At Safety FM, we're all about making smart decisions on the job and in life. So take control of your financial future. This is Jay Allen reminding you to stay safe, stay smart, and invest in your tomorrow.
Radio Big. Streaming 24/7 at radiobig.fm.
If you need it, well, maybe not need it, but you know what I mean. I hope you feel it. I don't really like to Skype my feelings.
Okay, you are still hanging out here on the Rated R Safety Show as we are doing our thing. This right here is Clans with a song titled Something I Dream, or excuse me, Sometimes I Dream. Song is readily available on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, and Pandora. So yeah, you got some options if you're so inclined, of course. A lot of things going on in the multiverse today. So go ahead and give this one a little streamer-eamer action if you do not mind. Definitely worth your while. We would like to thank Clans for allowing us to play this here on the Rated R Safety Show, no doubt about that. So thank you very much. Let's talk about real quick the most important thing that I will ever tell you in my lifetime, and that's about my friends at To Write Love on Our Arms. No matter what you're facing, you deserve to be connected to help, and we want you to know that people have been where you are now, and things can get better. Healing is possible. To find out more information, go to TWLOHA.com. That's TWLOHA.com, and click on the section that says Find Help. Once you get there, you're going to see information related to addiction, depression, anxiety, eating disorder, self-injury, suicide, trauma, grief support, just to name a few. That's TWLOHA.com. To Write Love on Her Arms. So there you go. It can change everything for you in regard to us talking about some stuff. So there you go. Definitely some things to think about as you are looking at that. TWLOHA.com. Let's continue talking about some other things that are going on inside of the world of the multiverse. In case you did not know this, yeah, we got about, let's see, 3 weeks from today. Conklin Workshop taking place in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Would love to see you there March the 31st through April the 1st. Conklin Workshop will be talking about an incident that happened to Redonda Voigt, firsthand experience, and we'll talk about how to look at these events using the lens of human and organizational performance. That portion will be led by Todd Conklin, and then we'll be using some tools that were developed by Brett Sutton in regards to some technology pieces that are out there. This whole thing will be looked at or actually managed through Ann Laren, as she will be talking about what she would be looking for in regards of this information. Find out more information, you can scan the QR code that's on the screen, or if not, you can go to safetyfm.com and click on the section that says live events. So there you go. That's one that's happening in 3 weeks. The other one we have going on is called Reality Shift, taking place July the 13th of 2026. That's on Monday in Orlando. We'll be hanging out with the likes of Nick Weatherly talking about behavior-based safety, Todd Conklin talking about human and organizational performance, and I'll be there talking about Signal Trilogy. This one will be slightly different. We'll be doing it at a movie theater, so this way you can come in, hang out, and take a look around at exactly the movie theater setup, and we'll take a look at a documentary, or maybe a movie that day, better saying, in regards to what's going on. It's a one-day event happening in Orlando. Would love to see you there. Find out more information. You can scan the barcode that is, or the QR code that's on the screen. If not, you can go to safetyfm.com and click on the section that says live events for more information. So there you go. Some opciones for you if you're so inclined to do so. No doubt about that. I mean, how would you not want to spend a summer day in Florida? I mean, come on. I don't think it gets any better than that, right? I mean, I don't know. What do you think? I'm just asking the question. So there you go, there you go. So let's take a look around before I get you into some other sides here of some things that are happening inside of the world of the multiverse, because that is what we will do here. That is what we will do here. Okay, so do I do this one because somebody sent it in? Okay, so here's a riddle that someone sent in, and I don't know since when do we do riddles on our show. But here you go. Henry was out walking one day. He met his father-in-law's only daughter's mother-in-law. What did Henry call her? So let me do that again. Henry was out walking one day. He met his father-in-law's only daughter's mother-in-law. What did Henry call her? Okay, so I don't think I'm going to crack the case on this one, but he called her Mom. And don't ask me how he came to the decision of doing that. Somebody sent that in, and I figured, hey, it might be worth sharing. Anyways, let's bring some John Smalls into our life and let him tell us about the Motivation Minute.
The Motivation Minute. Courtesy of JaceCaseMedical.com. Today's quote was submitted by Matt. Maya Angelou said, "You can't use up creativity. The more you use, the more you have." I love this. I also feel like the more you're allowed to flex your creative muscles, the more they grow and allow you to do even more creative things in the future. This is why people who have given their life to share their music seem to always be able to write more songs. Artists seem to have more ideas for work too. It's not like they run out of ideas. There's more where that came from. Now, I think love is the same way. I can fully love my wife, but I still have enough love to give to my son and enough love to give to my daughter. I don't need to take any love away from one to give to another. It's called unconditional love, and it's a full tank for everyone, all the way, always. The Motivation Minute.
This has been the Motivation Minute. I'm John Small. Thanks for listening. Your favorite motivational quotes can be submitted for upcoming programs at motivationminute.org.
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
What I do is say, lay out the logic of your strategy.
Israeli strikes have devastated Lebanon, killing nearly 400 people, while massive flames erupt from Tehran's oil refineries after targeted attacks amid the escalating Middle East conflict.
Lebanese officials report the deaths from a series of Israeli operations, including a raid on a village that left 41 dead and 40 wounded. Iranian residents describe night turning to day as huge fires rage from the refinery hits. The US urges people in Iran to stay indoors as tensions boil over. Benjamin Wright reporting.
President Trump signals plans to ramp up attacks on Iran as the nation vows more retaliatory strikes, marking day 8 of intense Middle East fighting.
Explosions rocked Tehran late Saturday, with Trump warning of further escalation over the weekend. Iran hit oil sites in neighbor countries like the UAE and Saudi Arabia. Ground troops into Iran remain an option, per advisor Levitt. Liam White reporting.
An explosion rocked the U.S. Embassy in Oslo early Sunday, prompting a big police response, though no one was hurt and damage stayed minor.
Norwegian police rushed large forces to the site around 1 a.m. local time after blast reports. Investigators call it minor, with no injuries reported. The cause remains under probe as officials secure the area. Gary Beck reporting.
U.S. gas prices jumped 9 cents a gallon to $3.41, the highest since August 2024, fueled by the Iran conflict and Strait of Hormuz blockade.
The spike marks the biggest weekly rise in years, tied to Iran strikes on regional oil infrastructure. West Texas crude soared 12% Friday to $90 a barrel. More hikes loom as global supply fears grow. Jessica Oakley reporting.
Body cam video contradicts ICE claims in the fatal shooting of U.S. citizen Ruben Ray Martinez during a Texas traffic stop last year.
The Department of Homeland Security waited nearly a year to admit an agent fired the shot. Footage shows the March 2025 incident in South Padre Island where 23-year-old Martinez died. Federal officials had said he accelerated and ran over an agent. Kyle Norris reporting.
A triple murder suspect in Utah got nabbed in Colorado after a manhunt, with investigators tracking him via a victim's car across state lines.
Utah officials found 3 women's bodies during the probe into 22-year-old Ivan Miller from Iowa. He faces first-degree aggravated murder charges after arrest without incident. No known ties link him to the victims yet. Kevin Sanders reporting.
Austin police released 911 calls and chaotic video from a deadly mass shooting that killed 3 and wounded over a dozen early on a recent morning.
Officers arrived in under a minute and exchanged fire with suspect Ndi Diagne, ending the attack. Brave bystanders helped guide more cops to his spot. Authorities probe possible terrorism links to U.S. and Israeli actions in Iran. Lawrence Keller reporting.
And that's the latest news headlines with Alan Edwards.
You're being infiltrated. Radio Big.
Okay, some infiltration in Radio Big. Let's start talking right away about some things that happened back on this date. Back in 1862, U.S. issues the first paper money, $5, $10, $20, $50, $100, $500, and $1,000. That happened back in 1862. Back in 1969, James Earl Ray pleads guilty to murder of Martin Luther King Jr. Let's see what else happened back in then. 1996, 22nd People's Choice Awards Apollo 13 and Tom Hanks win. Also in 2020, new Governor Andrew Cuomo deploys the National Guard to New Rochelle after 1 mile radius zone established 108 cases of COVID-19 detected. And in 2024, the 96 Academy Awards, Best Film Oppenheimer, Best Director Christopher Nolan, acting Cillian Murphy, Emma Stone, Robert Downey Jr., Divine Joy Randolph, Ryan Gosling sings I'm Just Ken. So that happened all on the dates that we have referenced. Also, let's talk real quick about some birthdays going on today. Chuck Norris turns 86. Dean Torrance turns 86. Shannon Tweed, 69. Sharon Stone, 68. John Hamm, 55. Robin Thicke turns 49. Carrie Underwood turns 43. And Olivia Wilde turns 42 today. So there you go. That's some celebrity birthdays going on today. Let's talk about some things you ought to know. Donald Trump says the war against Iran is essentially wrapped up and much faster than expected. Speaking yesterday, the president said that the conflict is very complete and far ahead of schedule, even though the fighting has only been going on for about 2 weeks. Trump pointed to the success of the U.S. military campaign and called Operation Epic Fury, saying that Iran's military capability has been largely wiped out, according to the president. Iran has lost key pieces of its military, including much of its Navy, communication systems, Air Force, and missile strength. Leaving it a little ability to continue fighting. At the same time, Trump is reportedly considering a strategic move to take control of portions of the area. One of the world's most important oil shipping routes, which has been threatened during the conflict. So there you go. What else do we got? Here's last night's winning Powerball numbers for 22, 23, 28, 36, 54. Powerball was 13 and Power Play was 3. The blast of winter weather is sweeping across the U.S., unleashing snow, dangerous winds, and treacherous travel conditions. Parts of Washington, Oregon, Montana, and Wyoming are under multiple winter weather advisories until Friday, with regions expected to see 2 to 4 feet of snow, and it winds up to 55 miles per hour through the week. And officials are urging motorists to delay travel if possible, and with the low ability threatened to making driving extremely dangerous. So there you go. So that's it. And then we got about 10 days before spring hits here. So there you go. Some things to think about as we are talking. Anyways, that's going to sum up our time together. At the top of the hour, I will be going over to radiobig.fm if you want to come up and hang out with me for the next couple hours or so. If you don't want to do that, that's perfectly fine. You can hang out here with the likes of Sheldon Primus, as he will be talking about the world of safety consulting. At Radio Big, I will be talking about the world of music and entertainment, just FYI. If I can't leave you with some words of wisdom for today, I would love to leave you with this. Live if you were to die tomorrow, and learn as if we were to live forever. I think that those things are important. And if I can give you some advice for today, if you wake up tired, expose yourself to sunlight for 10 minutes. It could change everything for you. Anyways, I know who you are. You know who I am. Love you, mean it, and goodbye.
The views and opinions expressed during this broadcast, podcast, or radio show are solely those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Safety FM and or Radio Big. The content discussed, including examples of analysis, is provided for illustrative purposes only. It should not be applied as the sole solution in real-world scenarios, as it is based on limited and dated open source information. Any assumptions made during this broadcast, podcast, or radio show are not reflective of Safety FM and or Radio Big. No portion of this broadcast, podcast, or radio show may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, electronic, mechanical, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of Safety FM and or Radio Big. For permission requests, please contact Safety FM or Radio Big directly.
This isn't a safety manual. It's a transmission. Jay Allen, PhD, host of the Rated R Safety Show and founder of Safety FM, has spent years pulling back the curtain on the systems we work in and the ones we don't talk about. What started as a fatal crash on the 405 became a search for truth. Through behavior-based safety, human and organizational performance, simulation theory, and everything in between. Safety, in my opinion, is raw, reflective, and real. From burnout to breakthroughs, from the matrix to the moment someone says, "This doesn't feel right." This book doesn't give you answers. It hands you the signal. Safety, in my opinion. Available now, wherever books and audiobooks are found.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete signal transmission trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion. The book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all three books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.
In safety, in my opinion, you woke up. You saw the system, the simulation, the structure that trained you to mistake compliance for care. Safety mutation. Information misdirection picks up where the signal fractured. Because the system didn't shut you down, it rebranded you. It packaged your voice, sold your rebellion as a new initiative, and smiled while doing it. This isn't a manual. It's a decoded transmission about what happens when slogans replace stories, when safety becomes marketing, and when truth gets mirrored so perfectly, you forget it was ever yours. You'll see the mutation. Learning teams turned into theater, zero harm turned into optics, and feedback turned into formatting. But the signal didn't die. It was redirected. Safety Mutation is Book 2 of the Signal Transmission Trilogy. Available now in print, Kindle and audiobook. Narrated by the author J. Allen, Ph.D. Because the system adapted. Now it's your move.